Today I'm part of a collaboration started by Joan over at Joan's Pointed Plate for what she's calling Crock-tober. That's right, we're doing crockpot meals. And if you're looking for one that's warm, comforting, and full of Indian spice, I have the perfect solution for you here. This is my crockpot chicken tikka masala. Not exactly authentic, but it is still delicious. I'll be putting my own spin on this, and you won't believe how low the bites, points, and calories are. So if you're interested in seeing how this is done, stick around because it's coming up next. Hello and welcome to my kitchen for Crocktober. My name is Roy. I'm a home cook, amateur baker, and I am here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today is one of mine, but I didn't come up with it. I mean, I came up with this version, but the recipe for chicken tikka masala has been around for quite some time, coming from India, if any of you do not know that. Now I will give a disclaimer before anyone out there calls me out. This is not going to be true tikka masala. Tikka refers to meat that has been grilled or roasted after being marinated in yogurt. And usually it's cooked on skewers. This is not going to be that. Masala actually refers to the sauce, and that is more accurate. It's either cream, yogurt, or tomato based, often a combination, and there are also spices that go along with it. So if you'll notice on my board, I did put tikka in parentheses. I did that in the thumbnail and description as well, just so that nobody says this is not true tikka masala. But it does have all of the flavors of the tikka masala. So I'm sticking with that name. Now this is very similar to butter chicken, if you've ever had butter chicken, except we're not using any butter, which is obviously where butter chicken gets its name. But this is very similar. But if you're in the mood for any sort of Indian dish, this is something that you will really enjoy. Now I did welcome you to my kitchen for Crocktober. And if you are not aware, this is a collab started by Joan over at Joan's Pointed Plate. There are about 16 channels, I believe, that are doing crockpot meals for what she is calling Crocktober. And they are going to have some great meals for you to choose from. Great slow cooker meals, crockpot meals. So go check out all of those other channels. They will be linked down in the description box below. But let us go over the ingredients that I have for my chicken tikka masala. I have here 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast. It's actually more than that, but in the recipe I do suggest 1 pound to 1.5 pounds, depending on what portion size you want to have of chicken. This will serve 4, so you can get 4 to 6 ounces per serving. I did calculate the calories and macros based on using 1.5 pounds, which is what I generally do. Now this is a little bit over the 1.5 pounds, but chicken is 0 bites or blue points for me. I'm on the Healthy Better Balance plan, which is equivalent to the old WW Blue plan. So those are the bites and points that I will be giving you. But since chicken breast is 0, I don't mind going up a little bit and making sure it's more satisfying for us. Now here I have 1 cup of frozen peas. What you want to do is, as soon as you're starting to prep everything, take out your frozen peas. You could do peas and carrots, or you could honestly do whatever you like. But peas and carrots are generally more traditional. But take those out as you're starting to prep. They are not going to be going in till the end of cooking. But you do want them to be out and thawed by the time you put them in, because they're not going to be in the crock pot for very long. I have here 1 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. And a lot of recipes, they have you get the whole tomatoes in the can and then crush them up yourself. Why bother? Why make it more work for yourself? So I am using crushed tomatoes. Save a step, save some time. I have here 1/2 cup of plain non-fat Greek yogurt, and that is not going to be going in until the end as well, because you don't want to cook it for too long and then have it curdle. So that's not going in until the end, as is this 3 tablespoons of chopped parsley that I have here. That is fresh parsley. If you wanted to use dried, you could. You would cut that down in half, so it would be 1.5 tablespoons, which is just about 5 teaspoons, and you would add that in with the spices. We're saving this till the end because whenever you are adding fresh herbs to a dish, you always want to add them at the end so that they don't get wilty and lose a lot of their flavor. You want to maintain that flavor. When you're using dried, you want to reconstitute those herbs or spices, so you will add them earlier. I have here 1/2 cup of diced onion. That's about 1 small or 1/2 a medium onion. I have here 1/4 cup of tomato paste. And the tomato paste is not going to only enhance the flavor of the tomato because it's more concentrated, it's also going to help thicken things up a little bit more than if you just put in the crushed tomatoes. I have here 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. That would be about 6 cloves if you were going to mince it yourself. And here I have 2 tablespoons of grated ginger. Now I just use the stuff out of the jar. I'm not going to try to figure out how much of a piece of ginger I need to grate to get that. Just use it out of the jar. As I said, make it easy on yourself. Don't overcomplicate things. Here I have 2 tablespoons of garam masala. Now garam masala is a combination of spices. It's not a spice on its own. It's more of a combination that is pre-made for you, so you can pick that up in the grocery store or buy it online if you can't find it. If you don't want to go through the trouble of getting that, I do list in the recipe the combination of spices, which is basically bumping up what you're going to add over here, but that'll give you an approximation of the garam masala if you don't want to use that. I have here 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander. Now coriander is not common in a lot of kitchens like cumin is, but it is often used in partnership with cumin because they enhance each other. And coriander is actually from the seed of the cilantro plant. I and Paul, my partner Paul, are not fans of cilantro. We get that soapy taste. I can deal with maybe a little bit. I just can't deal with a lot of it. But from coriander, you don't get any of that soapiness. I'm not sure what the difference is, but in the leaves, I would get a soapy taste. From the ground coriander, I do not. I have here 1 teaspoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of turmeric. Now turmeric is said to have some health properties, especially in helping with arthritis, inflammation, stomach issues. So it might be worth adding a little turmeric in your diet if you have any of those issues. Can't hurt, and it tastes delicious. And I have here 1.5 teaspoons of salt. All right, so those are the ingredients. Now let me shuffle a few things around and we will get started. Okay, so before I bring in the crock pot, which is right over here, I'm going to mix together all of my spices, the garam masala, the cumin, the coriander, the chili powder, the turmeric, and the salt. And just whisk that together. Okay, so that's gonna go over here. Bring in my crock pot. And what I'm going to add in first is the onion, the garlic, and the ginger. And I'm just going to combine that. And the onions are going to create a little bed for our chicken to rest on, so it's not sitting directly on the bottom of the pot. Now I'm going to add in our chicken breast. And as I said, you can go from 1 pound to 1.5 pounds or a little bit higher if you'd like, if these are 0 bite, 0 points for you. You can also make this double the batch, triple the batch if you want, if you're having people over, or if you want to meal prep, because this does freeze very well. Now I'm going to take about half of the garam masala spice mix and sprinkle that over the chicken. Now this does look like a lot of spice. And it is, because this is an Indian dish. Just the smell of it is great. Now we're going to add in our can of crushed tomato. And you want to get all of that out that you can, because this is the majority of our sauce for the dish. Then we're going to take our tomato paste and just dot that over the top so that it will spread into the crushed tomato. I'm going to sprinkle on the rest of our spice blend here. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of swirl that through so that the tomato paste is breaking up and the crushed tomato is getting spiced. Okay, so that's all there is to it. I'm going to put my lid on. Now, you can cook this on high for 3 to 4 hours, which is what I'm going to do because it's about 2 o'clock now. So we are going to be having this for dinner once Paul is finished with work. So I'm going to cook this for 3 to 4 hours. But if you are leaving for the day, you want to throw something together, and it comes together pretty quickly, as you saw. You can throw this together and set it on low for 6 to 8 hours. So you have a few options based on the time that you have, but I am putting mine on high, and I will be back in about 3 to 4 hours to show you where we go from here. Okay, so my crock pot has been going for just over 3 hours now. What I'm going to do first is turn this down to low, because we want this to start to cool down slightly before we add in the yogurt. And I am going to take out our chicken breast. And you can see how this is very bubbly in here. Definitely has been cooking well. And I'm just going to move this off to the side for now and let that start to cool down. And I'm going to take 2 forks and shred this up. You could, if you wanted, use a mixer. I personally think it shreds it too much. So I like having a bit more texture than I would get running it through the mixer. But you can, of course, do that. You could also, if you wanted, just cube it up. Let it cool down a little bit before you touch it, or use some tongs to hold on to it as you do it. If you wanted to make this as a true Tikka Masala, what you could do is you could still marinate the chicken in some yogurt and spices and cook it briefly on the stove top just to get some of that charring or roasted flavor, and then put it into the crock pot and cook it that way. So you can make it more true Tikka Masala, but I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. So that is what I am doing. So let me shred this chicken up and we'll move on. Okay, so I have my chicken all shredded. I'm just going to bring my crock pot back in, and we're going to add the chicken back into the crock pot. And it is definitely filling the house with some amazing aromas. Paul's son came by a little bit earlier, and this was sitting there cooking away, and he was like, "What is that smell? Something smells really good." He's probably sad that he's going to be missing out on our Tikka Masala. Just stir that chicken through and let that get all warmed up. And it has been about 10 minutes. You want to kind of let this come down in temperature for about 10 minutes. You don't have to get too crazy about the timing. You just want it to cool down somewhat. Now I'm going to add in the thawed out peas, because as I said, this isn't going to cook much longer. The Greek yogurt. And now the Greek yogurt is at room temperature, which is going to make it less likely to curdle. If you were to put it in while it was still cold, that discrepancy between the temperatures might make it curdle a little bit more. Stir that through. You can see we're now getting a lovely pink hue that is very indicative of chicken tikka masala. Now I'm going to add in the parsley, toss this through, and now we're just going to let it cook for about another 15 minutes. I have some rice over here cooking so that we can serve it with rice. And this is going to heat through another 15 minutes, mostly to get those peas warm through. And you're done. You have dinner ready for the table once our rice is done. Now you could do cauliflower rice, You could do pasta if you really wanted to. You could even serve it on some toasted bread if you'd like. Sometimes I will have the Tikka Masala and then use a piece of toast as kind of like a spoon and eat it that way. So you can serve it however you like. But let me clean up a few things and we'll go over those nutrition facts. Okay, so there you have it, my lovely and light chicken tikka, in quotes, masala. Now, one thing before I go over the nutrition facts that I'm going to mention. I have this serving 4 and coming up as 0 bites or 0 blue points. As I said, I'm on the Healthy Better Balance plan, which is the equivalent to the old WW Blue plan. Now in the Healthy app, and I'm not sure about the WW app if they do the same thing, when I scan tomato paste or even search for it, it comes up as 2 bites for 2 ounces. And the amount I used is just slightly over 2 ounces. But it's just tomato. There's nothing else in there that should be adding bites or points. Since tomatoes are 0 bites for me, I alter it in the app to be a 0 bite food. So that's how I'm getting this as 0 bites per serving. If, however, you didn't want to do that, you wanted to let the app do what it does, this would come up as 1 bite per serving. Still great, but I just don't think I should be spending bites for a tomato product when there's nothing else added to it. But you can do it as you prefer to do it. And that is mentioned in the notes section of the recipe, that is what I do, is turn it into a 0 bite food. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to, and you can count this as 1 bite. Now, as I said, this serves 4, and if you were counting calories, 1 serving of this would be 328 calories. And if you're following macros, the fat would be 5 grams, the carbs would be 23.2 grams, the fiber would be 5.2 grams, and the protein would be 46.5 grams as I made it with 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. As I said, what I used here is a little bit more than that, but the basis of the calories and macros in the recipe are based on 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. If you use less, if you use more, if you use chicken thighs instead, that will all change. But you do as you need to do. But even with the rice, this is going to be a 5 bite meal for me. So I'm willing to have some real rice instead of having cauliflower rice. If I'd splurged on other meals of the day, cauliflower rice would have been a savior in this. But I don't need to do that this time. But I hope that you enjoyed this recipe. I mean, look at that deliciousness right there. This is going to be a great dinner. And we'll have leftovers for tomorrow for lunch. So win-win. Now, if you want the recipe for this, I will have it linked directly down in the description box. Also down there, you'll find a link to my blog if you're looking for any of my other recipes, my Amazon storefront, my Fetch rewards, Built Bar rewards, and my social media, both my Instagram and 2 Facebook groups. So check out the description box for all sorts of information. Now, if you wouldn't mind doing the usual, like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video, such as this collab. Thank you, Joan from Joan's Pointed Plate, for inviting me to join in. And if any of you came from any of the other channels as part of this collab, I hope you'll consider sticking around. So go click that subscribe button and join in. Get lots of great recipes. I have some more fall favorites coming up. I have a few recipes that I am experimenting with. I have a pumpkin pie ice cream sandwich that will be coming up. And you don't want to miss out on some ice cream sandwiches, do you? Especially pumpkin pie flavored. Anyway, I think it is about time for Paul and I to go and have some dinner. And I hope that you'll be enjoying some of this yourself very soon. So until next time, bye.